Well, I never thought that I'd be saying this to you guys, but guess who got a job? That's right, I decided to take just a seasonal gig just because it's kind of that downtime between seasons. You know, it's not really winter and it's not really summer and there's not much else going on, so I thought, why not make a few extra bucks? So the job that I'm doing is I'm working a temporary job at a fish hatchery. And at this particular hatchery, the specialty is harvesting eggs from walleye and then letting them grow into fry and then stocking regional lakes. That way fishermen can have lots of opportunity to catch some quality walleyes in our beautiful Minnesota lakes. So if you're interested in the process, stick around and I'll give you a little tour. I just want to state right off the bat that I'm not divulging any secrets. The hatchery is open to the public at certain times of the day, so therefore I'm not showing you anything that the public doesn't have access to already. So typically I've been working overnights, and part of my responsibility is to monitor the fish trap station, which is located on this river located in between two lakes. What you maybe can't see in the camera is the water is flowing this way, and there are nets across the river, and the fish during migration, when they are getting ready to spawn, they will come upriver. So the nets are placed across the river so that any fish coming gets kind of corralled into this funnel net. And this funnel net opens into a square holding net. And in this holding net, you will get all different species of fish. The first morning that I was present when they checked the nets, we had bullhead, dogfish, crappies, sunfish, bass, northern, walleyes, carp, sucker, and that was about it. But it was like the Noah's Ark of the sea here. Pretty much every species of fish in the river system has passed through this area overnight. So it was pretty interesting to see. This river is only probably 40 feet wide and about 4 feet deep. And the structure is basically sand and gravel. So you wouldn't really think it's great fish habitat off the bat. But judging by the amount of fish that travel this river system, my eyes are really opened as to how productive these small rivers really are. So one of the things I watch for at night is, because this river is kind of corralled, every once in a while a beaver or a muskrat could get into this net, or an otter, and really tear the net up and damage it and let the fish out. So if a critter does get in the net, my responsibility is to get it out of the net. How that's done? Well, that might be a trade secret. Over here in these holding nets, we have females and we have males. And the reason that they're in the holding nets is because in the mornings when they check the nets every day, they check the fish to see if they're ripe. And being ripe means, are they ready to release the eggs or the milt? Well, the fish that are holding here, they weren't quite ready yet. And it's been a little bit colder the last few days, so over the next couple days they should ripen up and be ready. Now this particular stretch of river isn't really known for great big hoggers. You don't normally see 10-pound monsters in the nets, but there's been several 26, 27, 28s in there. So we're talking like 6, 7, 8-pound fish, which are a nice walleye on any day. A couple of interesting tidbits of information is your really big fish, those 8, 9, 10 pounders, they're really not your highest egg producers, and typically the big fish tend to be the females, but as they age out they tend to become less productive. So typically the fish that are probably the most highly productive are that 3 to 7 pound range. So if you ever want to keep a 10 pounder for the wall, you're really not taking a high egg producer out of the system. Two other facts that are pretty interesting is the eggs of the fish will only be viable for about 1 to 2 minutes outside of the fish once they've spawned, and the milt about 30 seconds. So when they milk the fish, you really have to get the eggs and the milt together almost immediately, otherwise you're going to lose the viability of the eggs. Now what the biologists do is in the mornings they will go out and they will draw the net in and they will sort all the fish. So anything that is not a walleye gets released right back into the river system, and anything that is a walleye gets checked for ripeness and then sorted. And if the fish is ripe, they will then apply pressure to the belly of the fish, releasing the milt or the eggs into a tub, and they'll use a feather to mix that mixture. And a feather is because it's not so harsh, it's nice and light and it won't damage the eggs. Once that combination is mixed together well to hope for the best chance of fertilization, then the eggs are then brought into the hatchery, and we'll go So here's a little clip of what I see at night when I'm checking the nets. All right, it's time to go check the net, make sure everything's going smooth. I just turned on the dock lights down at the river, and we're gonna walk down to the dock and take a look and see what kind of fish are in the nets and if they're increasing in number. Now, we don't want to be down here too long with the lights on because the fish like it when it's dark, obviously, and we don't want to interrupt any of their natural movements. So what we're checking for right now is to make sure that no critters like beaver, otter, muskrat have gotten into the fish net. And I don't see any problems there. So let's take a look and see if we have any fish in here. Wow, look at the fish. There's some big dogfish in here. We have I see walleyes, lots of walleyes. Lots of walleyes, dogfish, sunfish, bass. Look at those big dogfish, holy smokes. All those little, I don't know if you can see them or not, the reflection of those little white lights are all eyes from walleyes. Lots of them in here. There's even more than there was an hour ago. Look at those big walleye right there. Wow, there's some big mamas in there. Oh, looks like we have a northern in the net. Is he stuck in there? Yep, we got a northern gill in there, so we're gonna have to get him out of there. Part of our responsibility is checking the net and making sure that everything is working properly. All right, we freed the northern from the net, and since we are not spawning northerns, he can go free. All right, let's get these lights turned off so the fish can go back to doing their thing. There's some nice walleyes in here. That has got to be a 28-inch walleye right there. That thing is huge. Look at how big that fish is. Wow. Wow, that's a big fish. It's a big walleye. That's what we do when we check the nets, just to make sure that the nets are still functioning, that there's no critters that are trapped in there. Well, I made it through my first overnight shift in many years. It's been a while since I've had to work nights, but I'm happy to say I survived it just fine. Sun's coming up over the water, over the river. Got my working companion with. That water is just moving from all the fish in that net. Let's go take a look. River stay. Wow, there is so many fish in here. That's a big carp. Bowfin, walleye, bullhead, suckers, bullhead, northerns. Ooh, there's a big walleye in the corner right there. There's a sucker on top. Look at all the... Oh my gosh, is that a big that's a big walleye down there. It is a beautiful morning to be a fisherman. About another 2 hours, the biologists will be here and they'll lift those nets and start sorting fish and then start stripping the milt and the eggs.
I got you yourself. You watch this. See what looks good? You look at the fish. Another day, right?
Going back.
Harper's sleeping in. Harper's sleeping in today. The whole ship is sleeping.
Oh, lucky you. You pulled stuff. Have you ever got a big fish like that?
Look at here.
Kids around? You guys know what this is? Yeah, big
You want to pet the dog?
I would like to. Oh man.
So the fish that are going in here are the males and the females that are not ripe yet. So they'll hold them in this holding net for a couple days until they get ripe, and then they'll bring them back out and then they'll harvest the eggs and the milk and then release them. So I think Gary was telling me yesterday that the eggs are only viable for like a minute and the milk like 30 seconds. Is that true?
Yeah, not long at all. You know what, I don't know if it's an exact number.
But very obviously extremely short.
The male food for you. Give it the all.
Get back down to the bottom. Back down to the pit.
Okay.
Hold on.
I think the average big walleyes that we've had so far in the nets have been about 27, 28 inches. This particular stretch of the river isn't normally known for like 30-inch fish. So no 10-pounders, but 7, 8, 9, no, very possible. Then the eggs are then brought into the hatchery, and we'll go inside and I'll show you the process there. I do have to apologize because it's going to be pretty loud in there, and the reason is there's lots of circulating water and there's some pumps circulating and different noises, and well, those aren't things that I can control, so I'll probably just have to talk a little louder and ask for a little grace on the audio quality. Well, here's the inside of the hatchery. So when tourists come in, there's actually a video that they can watch to give a little bit more detail about the entire process, but I'm not going to make you guys watch that today. One of the first things you'll notice is all these jars. Well, these jars are all filled with fertilized walleye eggs, and eventually these will turn into little fry that will end up being stocked in regional lakes. So let's just take a closer look at one of these jars. So each one of these jars are filled with 2 quarts of fertilized eggs. And out of 2 quarts of eggs, I think there is, gosh, I'm gonna have to check on the number of actual eggs in 2 quarts. I'll list that down below. I don't remember off the top of my head. But what happens is the eggs get put into these jars, and you can see that there's water. You can see there's movement of the eggs, and that's because water is circulating through this system to mimic the natural movement of water in a lake or a stream. What it does is it tends to aerate the waters, and it keeps the eggs from sticking together. So after a couple weeks, these little eggs will start to become tiny fry, and this fry will migrate up to the top of these jars. And when they get up to the top of the jars, you can see that water flows from the top into this tank behind it. So the fish will migrate to the top to get a gulp of air to fill their air bladders, and they'll get sucked in through this siphon of water, and they'll live in this little tank for a little while. Well, eventually they'll make their way to these little siphon drains, and they'll get sucked down in this drain from one level to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And eventually, when they make their way all the way down to the bottom of the battery, a battery is what you call this whole system. So when the fish get to the bottom of the battery, they will finally get sucked into the last, drain, and gravity will force them through these pipes, and they'll come up into these holding tanks right here. So once the fry are in these larger tanks, it could be as often as daily that the biologist will then collect the fry and transport them to a rearing pond somewhere in the local area. And a rearing pond is typically a pond that is suited for growing these fry into fingerling-sized fish that can then be stocked into your regional lakes. Typically in these rearing ponds, you may have some fathead minnows, so there could be a slight predation of the fry, but typically there's no other predators that will greatly reduce the number of the fry that have been placed into the rearing pond. Now, after those fry have lived in those rearing ponds all summer long, in the fall, the biologists will then come in with boats and nets, and they'll trap all these little walleye minnows that are now called fingerlings because they're about the size of your finger. And then they will then get transported to regional lakes and stocked in the lakes, so that in the next couple of years, fishermen have an opportunity at an increased and more pleasurable fishing opportunity with higher chances of catching quality fish. So that's what I'm doing for a job. So now you know what I've been doing with some of my time. And I expect this job will last into middle of May, and although I'm not working full-time, I'm mostly working overnights and weekends. To be honest, I find the process really quite fascinating, and it's an important part of conservation and promoting quality fisheries in Minnesota. So now you know what I've been up to, and as always, we will see you soon. I hope you learned something today. If you did, please hit the like button, and as always, I love you guys. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.